The courtroom froze as Amaya held up the body cam, still two pickup trucks, clearly blocking the stop sign. "So tell me, Officer Dorsey," she said, voice steady as steel, "how did you see what you swore you saw?" The gallery leaned in, and in that moment, everyone knew this wasn't going to end the way he thought it would. "Hi, everyone. Today we're stepping into a marble-floored courtroom in downtown Fort Worth, where the smallest pair of worn white Chuck Taylors you've ever seen will stomp a hole through decades of unchecked authority. Picture a Monday morning buzz, coffee cups clinking, attorneys smoothing out expensive suits when a 20-year-old woman in a thrift store blazer strolls in as if this whole place were just another lecture hall. Before this hour is over, a veteran cop's certainty will crumble. A jury will lean in like churchgoers hearing scandal, and the line between kid and counsel will be rewritten in real time. This could happen to anyone, even you or your grandkids, because all it takes is one roadside stop driven by instinct instead of evidence. So before we dive into the story, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you truly enjoy what I do here. And drop a quick comment telling me where you're tuning in from and what time it is right now. I love seeing our community span the map and the clock. With that, let's push open those heavy double doors together. The morning docket is already humming when Amaya Collins steps through the metal detector, binder hugged tight to her ribs. She's 5'5", all quiet confidence, her natural curls pinned into a tidy bun that refuses to add an extra inch of intimidation. The bailiff, retired Army, still standing ramrod straight, barely glances at her badge clip, assuming she's shadowing a senior attorney for college credit. Inside courtroom 3B, the air smells of polished oak and overused copier toner, and the fluorescent lights do no favors to anyone's complexion. Judge Harold Reynolds, silver hair combed with military precision, flips through pretrial motions at the bench. He doesn't notice Amaya at first. He's busy trading murmurs with the clerk about a busted microphone. On the witness stand sits Officer Mark Dorsey, barrel-chested, 45, a man who keeps his sunglasses hooked onto his uniform even indoors because those mirrored lenses are part of his brand. Lucas Martinez, the defendant, adjusts his thrift store tie at the defense table, eyes darting from the empty seat beside him to the grim face of the prosecutor. He looks like every overworked science teacher you ever had, shoulders slumped from years of lab equipment and teenage sarcasm, hope flickering in his eyes but dimmed by dread. The prosecutor, Dana Holcomb, taps an expensive Mont Blanc pen against a yellow legal pad, already rehearsing objections in her head. Amaya moves with measured steps, 1, 2, 3, her sneakers squeaking louder than any pair of heels could. She slides behind the defense table and sets her binder down with a soft thud. Lucas blinks twice, then leans over to whisper, "Are you with the public defender's office?" "No," she whispers back, flipping to her first tab marked Traffic Stop, April 12th. "I'm your attorney of record." Across the aisle, Dana Holcomb's pen stops tapping. She glances up, confusion knitting her brow. "Excuse me, miss." She calls, half rising, "That seat is for counsel." Amaya doesn't look up. "Exactly," she says, voice even as gardenstone. The bailiff's eyebrows shoot skyward. A couple of gallery spectators exchange amused looks. Officer Dorsey lets out a single low chuckle, then mutters to the deputy, seated nearby, "Debate club, must be field tripping today." A smattering of laughter ripples across the benches. Judge Reynolds bangs his gavel once for order, finally noticing the brewing spectacle. "Identification, please," he says, peering over his bifocals. Amaya stands, slides a crisp white card toward the clerk, and states Amaya Collins, Texas Bar, number 931654. Counsel for Mr. Lucas Martinez. The courtroom hushes to a vacuum. Even the fluorescent bulbs seem to hum a notch lower. The clerk nods confirmation. The bar number checks out. Judge Reynolds clears his throat, curiosity pricking through his stern facade. "Very well, Ms. Collins. We were just about to proceed with Officer Dorsey's testimony. The floor will be yours for cross-examination once direct concludes." Dana Holcomb sinks back into her seat, cheeks flushing a shade that clashes with her navy suit. Meanwhile, Dorsey tilts in the witness chair, arms folding defensively, a smile tugging at the edge of his mouth as if daring the kid in sneakers to land a punch. Lucas exhales, shoulders easing down a fraction. The courtroom clock ticks a loud second past 9:01. A new game has begun, and every eye in 3B is fixed on the attorney nobody saw coming. The prosecutor's direct examination limps along for 12 long minutes, stuffed with routine questions meant to paint Officer Mark Dorsey as the seasoned guardian of public safety. He recounts spotting Lucas's sedan rolling through the stop sign at the corner of Magnolia, and 10th explains how years of training told him the twitchy driver was likely under the influence, and insists he followed protocol from first blue light flash to final citation. Amaya watches in stillness, eyes steady pen, silent as if every word were an old rerun she already memorized. When Dana Holcomb finally says no further questions, Your Honor, Amaya rises so smoothly it looks rehearsed because it is. Permission to display Exhibit C, the officer's body cam footage. She requests voice calm, enough to lower every pulse in the room. Judge Reynolds gestures to the flat panel screen mounted on the wall. A hush falls as the first frame freezes, 4:16 p.m. Bright April sun, two dusty pickup trucks idling at odd angles near the stop sign. Amaya clicks play. The footage jolts forward Dorsey's dashboard, a slanted view past windshield glare, and the trucks clearly block his line of sight. She pauses. The video turns to the witness. Officer Dorsey, can you confirm that the vehicles in this frame obstruct your view of the stop sign? He shifts in his seat, clears his throat. They're present, yes, but I could still see enough to determine. A simple yes or no will do. He grumbles. Yes. A ripple runs through the gallery. Someone inhales sharply. Amaya resumes the clip. We hear Dorsey's own recorded voice. Driver looks twitchy, probably high. She stops again. Officer, did you perform any field sobriety tests? Number drug screening? No, yet you wrote probable narcotics influence in your report. Dorsey's jaw flexes. Based on behavior, yes. Amaya holds a laminated printout. Fort Worth Police Department policy, Pariwara 7.4 line 2. Searches or detentions shall never be predicated solely on instinct or gut feeling. Were you aware of that policy on April 12th? I was. Did you follow it? Silence. The tension thickens like humid July air over the Trinity River. Amaya pivots binder, whispering open to a tab labeled Prior Incidents. Officer Dorsey, are you familiar with Internal Affairs Case 05-19? His forehead creases. That was 10 years ago dismissed. Sustained, she corrects, holding up the stamped document. Excessive force during a traffic stop. Similar language. Driver appeared nervous, likely hiding contraband. The jurors exchange glances. One scribbles furiously. Amaya doesn't let the silence breathe. And case 09-24 last November, another rolling stop, same phrasing, no contraband found. Were charges dropped? Dorsey nods, barely audible. Speak up for the record, please. Yes, dropped. She returns to the video, scrubs forward to the moment Dorsey steps to Lucas's window. His voice on the recording, mind if I search your vehicle? People like you always got something stashed. Amaya pauses it there, the phrase hanging like a lit fuse. Officer, what did you mean by people like you? He glances to the prosecutor, finds no lifeline. Just nervous drivers, not science teachers heading home after lab cleanup, she asks, eyebrow arched. Dorsey's composure slips. Shoulders hunch inward. The projector's pause icon flickers on his uniform like a spotlight, exposing every crease. Amaya turns toward the jury box, speaking slowly. Remember the two pickup trucks you saw at the start of this clip? They didn't just block a stop sign. They blocked the truth. Officer Dorsey built his entire narrative on what he felt, not what he saw. She pivots back. Officer, would you agree that feelings can be mistaken? I suppose so. But an HD body cam lens cannot feel, it only records. Yes. So when you swore this report was accurate, were you relying on feelings or evidence? He hesitates, fatal in cross-examination. I both. Thank you. No further questions at this time. She returns to her seat, the binder closing with a finality that echoes louder than any gavel. Judge Reynolds nods, signaling a recess to swap exhibits, but the room stays glued as if collective gravity won't let anyone rise. Lucas exhales for the first time since dawn, hands trembling beneath the table. Amaya leans over, whispers, that was only the first crack. Structures fall fastest once the first brick slips. Across the aisle, Dana Holcomb flips pages, searching for a rebuttal that doesn't exist. The jurors whisper in pairs. The gallery buzzes like power lines above a storm-soaked field. Officer Dorsey wipes sweat from his neck, realizing too late that his sunglasses resting now on the bench beside him cannot shield a reputation. In the back row, a college student raises her phone, capturing the paused bodycam frame, and Amaya's steady profile in the same shot. The caption she drafts will read, "She turned his own camera against him." By the time the judge calls everyone back to order, that image is already on a trajectory none of them can see, but all of them will feel. The bailiff announces court in session, yet the true session began the moment instincts were proven invisible and the facts indelible. The moment court resumes, Judge Reynolds nods for redirect, but Dana Holcomb's confidence is already leaking like air from a pin-pricked tire. She must patch a narrative hemorrhaging under its own contradictions. She re-asks Officer Dorsey about departmental procedure, hoping a rote recitation of codes will glue the pieces back together. Yet every answer drifts into qualifiers, generally to the best of my recollection, and the jury hears the wobble. Amaya sits motionless except for the rhythm of her pen, one deliberate tap each time Dorsey strays from certainty. After 6 taps, the juror in seat or 4 starts counting along lips, moving silently. Even Judge Reynolds notices the syncopation. When the redirect sputters out, Amaya rises once more, this time carrying nothing but a single sheet of printer paper. "Officer, earlier you testified that you'd reviewed your dash cam before filing your affidavit. Could you tell us the model of cruiser camera used in your unit?" He blinks. "Ooh, the standard issue. Standard issue being which manufacturer? A pause. I don't recall." Amaya nods slowly, as if appreciating an honest admission. "Yet your report specifies that digital clarity confirmed driver failed to stop. Without knowing the camera model or lens angle, how could you attest to clarity?" Dorsey adjusts his tie suddenly too tight. "I trusted the footage looked clear." Tap Amaya's pen again. She walks to the lectern, pulls up Policy Number 7.4 on the monitor for the jury. A highlighted clause states that officers must record specific observational limitations when issuing citations involving obstructed signage. She does not read it aloud. She lets 12 sets of juror eyes absorb the words themselves. Then she turns. "Did you document any limitations?" "No." "Were 2 pickup trucks a limitation?" "Yes." "Did you mention them?" "No." Again the tap, like a drummer, counting out the inevitable fall of a marching tempo. Amaya slides the lone sheet across to the witness. "It's a still from your cruiser's side mirror taken 7 minutes after the stop when the trucks were gone. You took this photo to supplement your report, correct?" He nods, relief creeping in. "Then please read the timestamp." He squints. 16:23. She advances a second still to the screen. Same intersection, the trucks fully visible. Timestamp 16:16:49. "Officer, why was the obstructed photo omitted?" Dorsey opens his mouth, closes, it opens it again. "Must have been oversight." Amaya leans forward just enough that only he can hear. "Oversight doesn't survive HD." The gallery exhales as one as she returns to counsel table, her worn sneakers whispering over tile. Judge Reynolds sips water, then asks if further questions remain. Just a few. Amaya answers, flipping to her misconduct tab. She projects an internal affairs chart, a timeline dotted with small red markers spanning 2 decades. Only 3 markers are labeled, but the silent pattern is louder than sirens. "Officer, please confirm the dates of these sustained complaints." He reads them: 2012, 2016, 2023, voice shrinking each time. "For each incident, language in your reports mirrored today's. Driver appeared nervous, likely concealing contraband." "Were any of those drivers charged with crimes?" His shoulders sag. "No." "Were searches performed?" "Yes." "Any illegal items found?" Numra Maya walks toward the jury, her back to Dorsey, addressing them but speaking as if to herself. "Patterns matter, friends. They tell us whether behavior is isolated error or practiced habit." She stops mid-stride, pivoting. "Officer, do you agree that traffic enforcement exists to promote safety, not to validate hunches, of course? Then why does every red dot here end in nothing but inconvenience and humiliation for the driver?" "Objection relevance," Dana blurts. But Reynolds overrules. Pattern evidence is fair game once credibility cracks. A bead of sweat slides down Dorsey's temple. Amaya softens her tone, almost compassionate. "I'm not here to villainize you, officer. I'm here to protect truth." Truth can handle questions. She steps back, silence stretching like dusk shadow across a prairie. Finally, she says no further questions. The pen stops tapping. The echo lingers. As the witness is excused, the courtroom feels smaller, ceiling lower, because everyone now shares the same unsettling realization. If this is how easily one decorated officer's story unravels under the weight of his own footage and policies, what lurks beneath cases without a camera or a curious defense attorney? Lucas pinches the bridge of his nose, holding back a flood of relief he isn't yet allowed to feel. The clerk announces lunch recess, but no one moves for a beat. In the back, that college student uploads her snapshot. Within minutes, a caption, "Feelings aren't probable cause," begins its viral climb. Amaya gathers her binder notes, rearranged into fresh order for closing. Every tab now bleeds neon yellow confidence. She catches Dorsey's gaze as he steps down. There is no animosity there, only the quiet acknowledgement that a long-accepted playbook just met its expiration date. And as jurors file out, some glance at Amaya not with surprise anymore, but with an emerging trust, a sense that the smallest shoes in the room might be the only pair willing to stand where lines are drawn and ask, who set these rules and who do they actually serve? When the jury files back in after only 70 minutes, the sound of their shoes against the linoleum is impossibly loud, like a drum roll stretched thin over nerves. Lucas sits rigid, knuckles white on the table edge. Amaya rests one hand near his steady without touching a silent metronome, keeping panic at bay. Judge Reynolds surveys the panel, reading the subtle tilt of shoulders, the lack of eye contact with Officer Dorsey seated behind the prosecutor. The court clerk stands. Madam Foreperson, has the jury reached a verdict? A woman in a cobalt cardigan rises paper, trembling just enough to reveal the shared adrenaline of 12 strangers who discovered agreement faster than weekend brunch plans. We have. She passes the slip. The clerk unfolds it, eyes widening a fraction before speaking. In the matter of State versus Lucas Martinez on the charge of failure to obey a traffic control device, we find the defendant not guilty. The second syllable lands like the first warm breeze after a brutal winter. Gasps swell, suppressed cheers ripple through the gallery, and somewhere at the back, a rapid shutter click captures a timeless tableau, the moment Lucas exhales an entire month of dread, while Amaya allows herself the smallest, quickest nod, less celebration, more confirmation that gravity still works. Dorsey's shoulders slump as if a hidden wire snapped. He looks older than 45 now, badge reflecting courtroom fluorescence instead of the authority they once implied. Judge Reynolds thanks the jurors, gavels adjournment, and the official day ends, but the story's half-life is just beginning. Outside in the corridor, cell phones appear like prairie dogs sensing storm. The college student responsible for the earlier photo now live streams to a few dozen followers that will balloon to thousands by nightfall. She frames Amaya stepping into the hallway, binder hugged high Chuck Taylors, squeaking once more, as if to remind every polished loafer in earshot that substance just outpaced style. Reporters descend with microphones angled like spears. Ms. Collins, did youth give you an advantage? What message do you have for law enforcement? Is this the start of a new era for traffic stop jurisprudence? Amaya raises a hand, voice even carrying through the clamor. This isn't about eras or hashtags. It's about remembering that instincts can't outvote evidence. Thank you. She turns, guiding Lucas through the throng toward the elevators. The live stream catches her final sentence before the doors close. Real justice happens when truth shows up on time. That clip, 9 seconds long, posts to X under the caption, "She's 20. He's been a cop 24 years. Guess who came prepared?" By the time Amaya and Lucas step onto the street below, the tweet surges past 50,000 views, propelled by teachers' unions, civil rights advocates, and an NFL cornerback who retweets with 3 clapping emojis and the words "Young Queen." Meanwhile, inside Fort Worth PD headquarters, the internal affairs inbox pings with news alerts. Captain Renee Marshall watches the viral clip on mute, reading the auto-generated captions, summarizing Dorsey's instinct isn't evidence exchange. She pages through Policy Burger 7.4 on her monitor, the same clause Amaya projected for the jury highlighted now in bright digital yellow. 2 hours later, an official statement appears on the department's social channels. We are aware of concerns raised in today's court proceedings involving Officer Mark Dorsey. A full administrative review has been initiated. The sentence ends with a period, but the internet adds its own ellipses threads, speculating on prior misconduct mapping. Red dot patterns like constellations across a 10-year night sky. Local evening news runs split-screen edits on one side, Amaya's calm cross-examination on the other, Dorsey shrinking under the weight of his own footage. Anchors dub it the Chuck Taylor takedown, a phrase Amaya will later cringe at but cannot control. By midnight, a Change.org petition demanding Dorsey's suspension exceeds 20,000 signatures, fueled by comments like, "My grandson was profiled last year. Thank you, Amaya," and feelings aren't probable cause share until they hear us. Inside her modest apartment near TCU, Amaya silences her phone for the first time all day. Lucas has already texted 3 times, once to offer thanks, once to promise a future donation to any scholarship she chooses, and once to say his students screamed when they heard the verdict. She replies with a single sentence, "Teach them the scientific method applies to justice too." Her roommate Brianna pokes her head into the living room, eyes wide behind lavender-rimmed glasses. "Girl, you're trending, Nama you're too, nationwide." Amaya shakes her head, taps the binder beside her on the couch. "Tomorrow this binder still weighs 6 pounds, and tomorrow someone else will sit cuffed in a patrol car." She flips to a blank page, titles it, "Future Cases," the ink gliding smooth despite the fatigue clawing her limbs. Across town, Officer Dorsey sits alone at a corner bar, nursing a watered-down bourbon, the television above looping his courtroom stumble without sound. Patrons glance, whisper, check phones. He stares at the ice, hearing only Amaya's voice replaying in his mind. Oversight doesn't survive HD. His precinct captain's number glows unread on the screen of his silenced phone. Deep down, he already knows what tomorrow's morning briefing will bring. Midweek, Amaya receives an email from Fort Worth ISD inviting her to speak at a senior civics seminar. She hesitates, remembering her own high school days when guest speakers felt unreachable. She types back, happy to share practical tools. "We'll bring body cam clips and blank affidavits. Students should see justice up close." That Saturday, she stands before 30 teens in a sunlit classroom, smelling faintly of whiteboard cleaner and cafeteria pizza. She opens by holding up her battered Converse. These, she says, walked into a courtroom where no one expected much from them. Expectations aren't statutes. They're just stories others tell. For the next hour, she breaks down probable cause, like a math formula, invites volunteers to craft cross-exam questions, and reenacts the crucial pause before asking Dorsey about camera models. Silence can be the loudest part of an argument, she explains. The kids lean forward, one girl scribbling so fast her mechanical pencil squeaks like sneakers on marble. When the session ends, a boy near the back raises his hand. "How do you stay calm when you know they're underestimating you?" Amaya smiles. "Their underestimation is free energy. Save your own." The room exhales a collective whoa, the kind of sound that says a seed just rooted in 30 hearts at once. Someone captures that, quote, posts it under a photo of Amaya pointing to Policy Mirror 7.4 projected on a smartboard. The caption, "She's planting knowledge where fear used to grow." It racks up likes faster than wildflowers after a Texas spring rain. That evening, she sits alone on the apartment balcony, Fort Worth skyline, shimmering against a bruised purple dusk. Her phone buzzes. Captain Marshall's statement now lists Dorsey on administrative leave, pending investigation. It feels like a small stone tossed into a wide pond, ripples lapping at possibilities beyond one verdict. Amaya closes her eyes, listening to highway hum, blending with distant cicadas. She recalls her grandmother's advice. Justice is a path, baby, not a porch. Keep walking. She tightens the laces on her Chucks, flexes her toes. The path is long, but the shoes are already broken in. The next Monday, the same courthouse hums with a different frequency as an internal affairs evidentiary hearing convenes in a side chamber thick with institutional beige. There is no jury box, no gallery, just a semicircle of brass-plated nameplates, a digital recorder blinking red, and a single empty chair where Officer Mark Dorsey will account for Policy Mirror 7.4 in painstaking detail. Amaya slips in, quietly invited as a material witness, yet treated by the room with a caution usually reserved for investigative journalists. People have learned that underestimating her costs reputations. She wears the same slate gray blazer, and even the scuffed Chuck Taylor's a sartorial reminder that authenticity holds longer than polish. Dorsey enters uniform crisp, but eyes hollow, and the moment their gazes meet, a silent agreement passes between them. Neither will ever again be allowed to operate on instinct alone, because instinct now sits shackled to high-definition playback and public scrutiny. The questioning grinds on for hours, each departmental lawyer, probing timestamps, GPS pings, and the 6-minute gap when bodycam audio cut out. Every evasive, "I don't recall," lands dull and heavy in the stenographer's keystrokes. When Amaya's turn comes, she needs only 5 minutes 3 to confirm the chain of evidence, 2 to summarize the red dot timeline the world already saw, and then she hands over a sealed envelope. It contains a notarized statement from the driver in last November's case, newly emboldened to come forward after the viral footage. The envelope is heavier than it looks. In its thin paper, the viability of Dorsey's badge crumples like tin foil. 3 days later, the department announces an unpaid suspension, while termination proceedings begin, and the news cycle detonates again, though it now includes nuance that didn't fit in a tweet community group's call for retraining modules authored by Amaya. The police union counter-tweets about due process, talk radio hosts roast the Chuck Taylor lawyer, and inadvertently spike searches on her name. Bookers from national morning shows pepper her email with 6-figure speaking offers, yet she turns each one down, forwarding the messages to her spam folder, beside coupon blasts and alumni fund pleas. Instead, she meets Lucas Martinez at Southside Community Center, where his students present her with a handwritten poster, "Science, Shark Evidence. Justice, Shark Evidence." They pose for a photo, Amaya crouched to the student's eye level, Lucas grinning like a man who now sleeps 8 hours without courtroom nightmares. That image travels more quietly than the viral clip, but embeds deeper pinned to classroom corkboards and shared in teacher Facebook groups where the algorithm seldom ventures. The next afternoon, she stands in a borrowed utility room sorting donated laptops for a pilot workshop titled Evidence for Everyone. Each machine will host trial transcript exercises so teenagers can practice spotting logical fallacies before they ever drive a car or vote in an election. She finishes labeling serial numbers long after volunteers leave, humming an old gospel tune her grandmother used to sing while shelling peas, proof that legacies can echo through concrete walls and fluorescent hum. On Friday at dusk, Amaya jogs the Trinity River Trail binder slung in a backpack that thumps between her shoulder blades like a steady drummer keeping time. Every mile marker triggers a voice memo on her phone case. Ideas, policy, loopholes, questions she still wants to ask the world. She stops atop a footbridge watching headlights merge into downtown streams while cicadas launch their nightly chorus. Somewhere a train horn drifts low and patient. She pulls out the binder and flips to the page titled Future Cases. Beneath it, she writes a single sentence in thick black ink. The reasonable doubt we plant today becomes the oak that shelters tomorrow. Closing the binder, she breathes the warm Texas air, then glances down at her shoes canvas fraying at the edges, rubber soles thinning. Tomorrow she will buy a new pair exactly like them, not because she needs fresher tread, but because every verdict deserves fresh ink and every path, however long, deserves shoes willing to travel it twice. As she heads back toward the city lights, her phone buzzes with a notification a freshman legislator cites. Feelings aren't evidence while proposing a statewide body cam transparency bill. Amaya smiles, lengthens her stride, and whispers to the twilight, "Keep walking. Slow down for a moment with me. Close your eyes unless you're driving, and picture that footbridge at dusk, the heavy binder tucked under one arm, the river sliding past in quiet promise, and the air carrying the faint smell of honeysuckle mixed with city exhaust. Justice does not roar. It murmurs, repeating itself softly until someone finally listens, and the lesson tonight is as steady as a heartbeat: preparation will always outlast presumption. We live in a world where authority sometimes leans on instinct because instinct is fast, but truth moves at the speed of evidence. And evidence, my friends, does not rust. If you've ever felt dismissed for your age, your accent, your wrinkles, or your wardrobe, remember Amaya's worn sneakers echoing across marble, a sound that reminded everyone those floors belong to the public, not the powerful. So the next time you witness a small wrong, pause, breathe, and ask a question that splits opinion from fact, because questions are flashlights. They chase shadows out of corners. And if you're blessed with experience, those gray streaks, those years of early alarms and late-night worries, use that wisdom to steady younger voices instead of silencing them. There is room on this path for every earnest footstep, yours included. Take inventory of your own binders, the stories you carry, and decide which pages need new ink. Maybe it's a neighbor fined unfairly a grandchild's school policy that feels lopsided, or a city ordinance nobody revisits until it hurts. Bring your calm, your patience, and your willingness to reread the rules out loud. Justice isn't a destination. It's the daily choice to keep walking toward clearer light. And if the walk feels lonely, remember this community. Every comment, every shared minute of listening proves you're never truly alone. Rest well tonight. Friends, lace up your convictions tomorrow and let truth do the heavy lifting.